Should we clean up?
Nah, man, I think this is a good aesthetic we got going on right now with these two donuts we have left that Mason ate 6 of them and a Blue Dan Kolache.
All right. I'm not even going to say anything.
Putting that in the pod, that's going to be the intro. What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Good 90 podcast.
All right, yeah, so it's a Good 90 on September 9th, right?
It is September 9th, yes.
A little cool this morning, feeling good outside.
Feeling like bow season, man.
We got some coffee and the 2 leftover donuts, and we are ready to jump into this whole Acts 9 story. If you've read the Bible, right, if you've been to church, you've heard something about Acts 9 over the years. This guy who was named Saul, who became Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, his conversion story, I saw the light. There's been all kinds of songs, sermons. Everybody's had some kind of Damascus Road experience, if you've heard that one before in church. So there's all kinds of tie-ins to this. It's a central story in the story of Scripture, in the story of the church. Not that it's the center, because that would be Jesus, but this is big. This is probably, for us, for sitting around this table, this doesn't happen if Acts 9 doesn't happen, right? Because this is the word really going out to the Gentiles. It doesn't get beyond Israel if we're not having these Acts 9 moments, right, like this. So this is God moving in a big way in this guy's life. So tell me, what do you guys know about Saul, not about Paul? Tell me what you know about him.
Saul was a D1 Christian killer.
Yeah.
Professional, really. Not even D1, man. He was in the big leagues.
He was in the big leagues, okay.
Yeah.
He was a Jew, right?
He was a Jew.
He was like a learned guy. He calls himself a Pharisee of Pharisees, right? So what does that mean?
It means he knew the Scripture better than the people that are supposed to know the Scripture. And he knew it better than them.
That's like in the Jewish world in that day, that's like saying he was the best of the best, right? Like he's the guy. Like you said, like a D1, Elite 11 recruit, whatever kind of thing you got going on there, right? So he's up there in that. And he gets attributed with a lot of bad stuff because he did a lot of bad stuff while he was named Saul. And so if you think about that, what would be, like all 3 of us around this table, we have had some sort of Damascus Road, life-changing experience with Jesus Christ. All 3 of our experiences are going to be very different. They took place in different time periods, I can tell you that. But they're very different because we're unique individuals and we struggle with different things, even though it all falls under a similar category of sin and separation from God. We all deal with those things differently because of our backgrounds, because of who's influenced us, because of the time period we live in, because of certain things that might impact us differently, events that have happened in our lives, stuff like that. So Saul's big moment before the 9th chapter of the book of Acts, by the way, which is where we're reading today, before this, what's his one shining moment? What's his claim to fame? Like, if everything before this, there's only one real mention of him, and it's very, very brief. Tell us what happened, if you remember.
Is it Acts 8?
Well,
I'm not sure what chapter it is. I just know the story.
I'm looking at the Bible here, and it says...
Oh, wow.
It says...
Good place to look.
Yeah, good to know, yeah.
Yeah, looking in the right place, I think. But it says, Saul ravages the church.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess I'll read this. And Saul approved of his execution, and there arose on that day a great persecution against the church in Jerusalem, and they were all scattered throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. Devout men buried Stephen and made great lamentation over him. But Saul was ravaging the church and entering the house after house. He dragged off men and women and committed them to prison.
Okay, so where you started reading, maybe read the sentence or the 2 sentences before you started.
Okay.
It's like 57. He stoned
Yeah.
Stephen.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. But they cried out with a loud voice and stopped their ears and rushed together at him. They cast him out of the city and stoned him. And witnesses laid down their garments at the feet of a young man named Saul. And as they were stoning Stephen, he called out, "Lord Jesus, receive my spirit." And falling to his knees, he cried out with a loud voice, "Lord, do not hold this sin against them." And when he had said this, he had fell asleep.
Okay.
I remember that now. He talks about that in Scripture, doesn't he?
So he was there.
Yeah.
Stephen's basically considered the first martyr for the Christian faith. He's the first guy that, was put to death because of the name of Christ. I mean, the one, as far as we know. I mean, there could have been some other people, but he's the first one, and it's at the hands of the Pharisees in a similar fashion to, if you remember your stories, where Jesus was at odds with the Pharisees, and they even highlight this in The Chosen in one of the season 4 moments where they try to stone Jesus, and they pick up rocks and they hit the big James guy in the head, and all this kind of stuff, right? So what happens with Stephen is that they actually carry it out. They hit their target, and there's this young guy, like in a junior Pharisee or whatever Saul was in that moment, or an up-and-comer. Maybe he was a rookie, and he saw the whole thing happen, and all the Pharisees that were doing the stoning, everybody that was there to witness the event, they put their cloaks down so they could throw the rocks better, maybe, and they put them down at his feet. Like he was the guy there giving approval to what was happening. And it's unclear whether he was the one telling the people to do it, or whether he was witnessing it and then he got promoted. I mean, it's neither here nor there. He was there at that moment. He was there when this guy Stephen, which we could do a whole nother podcast on him, but when Stephen was killed. And that was the beginning, that was the launching point for everything else that you just read, Mason, where he goes from house to house and he's pulling people out and putting them in prison. So that's why when we think about Saul the murderer, we think about that scene right there, because that's the only confirmed time we know that for sure there was death, and he was there, right there, giving approval of it. Could have stopped it, could have opposed it, could have realized in that moment, hey, this is wrong, yada yada yada, whatever. So yeah. So anyway, so that's Saul, and that's the dark side, right? That's who he is, and he's as hardline as you can get, like you said, like he's a professional against Christians. Like that was his job. Like
Yep.
he was authorized to go around and lock up believers. And keep in mind, he didn't work for Rome. He didn't work for some crazy, off the chart other religious system. He worked for the Jewish synagogue. Like he was God's policeman, in the people's minds. Like he was defending the truth. He thought absolutely that what he was doing was the right thing to do.
So the church, the synagogue appointed him.
But yeah, he's a Pharisee.
Yeah, I always thought he was just like a missionary for. He just went out on his own way.
He
and
was just really passionate.
Yeah, he was
about
just
it.
doing it like.
Oh yeah,
almost like a different sect of.
Like he acted
Judaism or
acted
whatever.
alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does. Well, we know he doesn't act alone because
Like
of that.
a
But
like a vigilante.
Yeah, like a vigilante almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a Batman type guy.
Yeah. Huh, something about Batman.
Something about that.
Well, so no, he was. That's what it says, right? Because he's carrying these letters in the beginning of chapter 9. Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. This is 9 verse 1. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any there who belonged to the way. So he was like a bounty hunter, that had the authority of the high priest. So he could go out and nab these people because they were committing heresy, because they were doing all the same things that they were trying to pin on Jesus. And now, like their foot was on the gas. We already killed the so-called Messiah. Now we're going to stamp out the rest of his followers before this thing gets really out of hand. And Saul's our guy to do it. We give him the badge, the authority, And so it's well, I'm not even going to make the reference, so because it's too old of a movie. Go ahead.
Well,
what were you going to say?
We wouldn't get it anyway.
But yeah, like it says, but Saul is still breathing threats, and that's kind of sparked in my mind, like any chance he got, like every breath you take is a threat towards the Christian people.
Yeah.
And it's like he hated them.
Yeah.
Hated them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so just imagine, you've both watched The Chosen. Just imagine the character that they put on there, the Shmuel guy that's kind of the one that ends up just being very, very like anti-Jesus or whatever. Just so Saul is that guy times 10.
Yeah.
He's that guy with punishable authority. Like he can take guards with him, temple guard with him, and go on these raids, and like enter into these houses. Just imagine the Navy SEALs and going to houses looking for terrorists and looking for weapons in Iraq or whatever. I mean, Saul's doing the same thing. He's pounding on doors, breaking them down, going in there and dragging out these people who are on his list. People who are supposed followers of the way, to stamp it out. He's going after them. So he has 100% authority from the church to do these things.
Yeah.
So how crazy is that, right?
Yeah.
Got me beat, man.
Yeah, right. So this guy, and I guess we can talk about this more later, but that's his lowest point. I mean, like you don't get any more anti-Jesus than that. Like that's it, right? And then God flips him. He was headed to one fraternity, and then at the last minute on midday, they flipped. Something flipped you. So that's what happened. He showed up to the press conference, and he had one hat on, and then he pulled it off and pulled the other hat out from the thing. But except it wasn't him making the decisions, right? It was God choosing him, and God saying, "No, you're going to be my guy." And that's how the rest of the story goes. So I guess before we jump into what happened on the road and the light and the voice and Jesus calling him, how do you connect to? Can you connect to Saul? I mean, at what point have you felt like you've been the opposite of what Jesus wanted you to be?
Well, I've never killed anybody.
Yeah.
But Jesus says, something about murder. I'm blanking right now on this, guys. It's really early in the morning.
Don't worry, I'll pick up on your Slack.
But all right, Robin. It's like he's like murdering your own heart. What is the verse? It's in.
Well, sure. I mean,
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
In Matthew.
Yeah.
In the
I'm blanking, guys. I'm blanking.
In the whole section of the Sermon on the Mount,
Yes.
he talks about that. Like
Yes.
if you to have jealousy or rage or anything like that, like you don't have to, because they talk about how thou shalt not kill, but he's saying, man, like even if you have that in your heart, it's the same thing. So yeah, right. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
You haven't actually witnessed an execution and said, yeah, we should definitely kill this guy.
Yeah.
You weren't standing there like he was, but and most of us haven't been like that.
Yeah.
But in what way?
Yeah, I mean,
do you
I think
see that you connect.
Yeah, I mean, I think like he was clearly walking directly 180 degrees away from Jesus.
Right.
Like Jesus is right in front of me, and I'm walking directly back, and I'm like turned around, just running.
Yeah.
And like I think this is so cool, and we'll talk about it afterwards, but like, man, he believed what he was doing was the right thing.
Yeah.
And he went 110% at it. Like this dude, he was the GOAT. He was the greatest of all time Christian killer.
Yeah.
And that's what he did, and he was really good at it. And he believed what he was doing was worth something. And so he did it. And I think I've definitely found myself selfishly walking in the wrong direction, completely opposite direction of Jesus, and just been like, yeah, man, I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm really loving life right now. I'm just doing me, whatever I want to do, whatever Wyatt wants to do. And it's just been like awesome, that, but it's just not, like it's not awesome at the end of the day. And we find that out, and Saul to Paul finds that out really, really quickly. And so he was just, I think the way I'd relate to him is just he's walking complete opposite way. And that is the road to Damascus that people talk about in their lives. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I definitely see in my life, a couple years ago, I guess freshman year would be kind of like a good label on this, but I really think that I thought I was doing the whole Jesus thing right, but I was doing it not the only right way, but the right enough way to where I can have fun, And so I would be trying to go to church, trying to go to the Wesley, doing all these things, going to the bar, and maybe even having a heart-to-heart about Jesus. But these people are looking at me, and I was probably like hammered at the bar, or I was just doing something that I'm not supposed to be doing, and like that's so much humility or just kind of like shame on my end, to where like, man, like I was an idiot.
Yeah.
Like really painting the wrong picture of Christ to people who might have needed it more than I ever knew at that time. And that's something that like is part of my testimony and just part of the way that I live my life now, is that like I will never do that again. Like, cause the grief that it puts on me was just unreal. And at the time I didn't know it, but like I was so wrong, like so wrong. So
yeah, but you thought you were right.
Yeah, I thought I was justified in it.
And so the connect, I think, for everyone out there listening, right, is that, okay, yeah, you're not exactly like Saul, but on the flip side of it, you are just like him, because you feel like what you're doing is the right thing. It's a good thing. It's what I'm supposed to do, or it's okay that I do this. And then you might look at it too and go, okay, well, and I know that it's wrong. Maybe you're that person, and you think, well, but I'm so far down this opposite road of Jesus that I also can't come back. And so if you think that you're like that, then you have to look at this story of his life and go, well, wait a second, nobody's really like that.
Yeah.
Because this guy was as hard-lined opposite of Jesus as you can get, and God pulled him back in. And I think it's really interesting. So I'm gonna read it just a little bit, because this is big time. So that he's going through, and he asks for the letters, and we'll pick up in verse 3 of chapter 9. So as he, Saul, neared Damascus on his journey, like heading opposite of Jesus essentially, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. He fell to the ground and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "And who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting," he replied. "Now get up and go into the city, and you'll be told what to do." And so some other stuff happens with the guys around him. They don't really know what's going on for sure. They hear a voice. They don't see the light. Saul gets up. He can't see. He's blind for 3 days. He doesn't eat or drink anything. He's had this massive, massive experience. And then the story picks up later with this guy named Ananias, and we read this earlier. And what I want you to, because as we're coming sort of nearer to the end of the podcast here, I want us to talk about him just a little bit, for what God says. So Ananias is a guy who follows the Lord, and he gets this vision from God, and it says, "Hey, this guy Saul is going to come to your house, man, or he's going to be at this other house, and I need you to go to him." And he's like, "Well, I don't want to go be that guy. Yeah. He's probably going to throw me in jail. Like, God, what are you doing, man? I would rather just walk up to Caesar and slap him in the face than do this. This guy's for sure going to put me in jail." And so he says, "Look, I've heard what he's done. I've heard what he's done to people in Jerusalem, and now he's come here to Damascus to arrest all of us, and he's got authority to do that." And then this is what God says about this guy who's terrible, who's the opposite of God. He says, "Go, this man is my chosen instrument to carry my name before the Gentiles and their kings and before the people of Israel." So God chose this guy Saul, who's the worst of the worst, to be his instrument. So I feel like if you're listening and you're thinking through this story and you've read the whole thing and you wonder, well, how could God ever redeem me? How could he ever pull me off of that opposite road? How could he flip me? Well, he just can because he chooses to. He chooses the worst of the worst guys to do the best of the best work.
Yeah.
Like that's what is the deal with Saul. And God may not want you to do something equal with writing, 75% of the New Testament. Maybe that's not what God's going to choose you for, but he might be choosing you for something equally as great in your lifetime. I mean, you might be his chosen instrument to reach somebody else. Because at the end of the day, that's all Saul was. God says, hey, this man is my chosen instrument to reach all of these people. Well, I think he would look at each one of us and go, you are my chosen instrument to reach, boom, fill in the blank. And I don't know who that is for everybody out there, but I can promise you that God does want you, and he will flip you no matter how bad you think you are. And God has chosen you. I mean, he just simply has. He chose you when he chose the cross. He chose you to take on your sin, my sin, and love us all in spite of it. And he chose us to be his people in this world. So that's kind of the larger takeaway. So what do you guys think about that? How does that hit you in your life today? Like how do you respond to that?
Yeah. I see two things in here. First of all, when Paul and when Saul sees the light, I just think like when I saw the light, I was like, there's so much grace in that light that I will never understand it, and I still don't understand it. Why would a holy and perfect God stoop so low to come to somebody like me who is just born a sinner, I'm D1 sinner, professional sinner, right? And say, hey, I want, like, you're mine. I will never get over that. I will never, ever, ever get over that. And if you find yourself there, like, how in the world can God, like, save and redeem me? Like, there's more grace in Jesus than sin in you. And so you just have to remember that. I constantly have to remember that because, man, I sin a lot. Like, a lot, man. And then two, with both Saul turning into Paul, or no, he doesn't turn into Paul, he just gets his name changed. And then Ananias, I just see them denying themselves, kind of like Matthew 16:24 is, if you want to be a disciple of Jesus, you have to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me daily. It's like, man, Saul is on his way to go and I don't know if he's going to kill or put people in jail in Damascus, but he denies himself and goes to this town. And then Ananias God comes to him and tells him, hey, you're going to go pray for this man who is a Christian killer and you're a Christian. And he's like, God, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And yet he dies to himself and he goes and is a mat carrier almost for Paul, and prays over this man who has been killing Christians for Lord knows how long. And I just see that's just such a reminder to me of like, man, sometimes I don't want to do things that the Lord is calling me to do.
Yeah.
And I feel myself running from them time and time again. And that's very, very convicting, because even though they didn't, Ananias in particular, did not want to do that, he still did it anyway because the Lord is the Lord of his life. And I think that's just a reminder and a testament to like, man, God's good and he's faithful and he wants the best for you. He knows what he's doing. And a lot of times we think we know what we're doing and we don't.
Yeah.
So just there's a lot of grace. God's just got a lot of grace and he's a good God. And so that's kind of what I got from this little passage of scripture here.
No, yeah. And to kind of point this out too, something I was reading. Golly, scratchy throat. And something else about Ananias is that he was already at Damascus. Paul was probably going to kill him. He was going there.
He probably had a letter.
He's probably on the
Probably
he's probably on the sheet.
with
Yeah.
with Ananias'
Hancock.
name on it. Yeah, like
Ananias.
this is the guy. He's on the list.
He's one of the good ones, man. You gotta get him.
And I was sitting here reading that, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Like Ananias was like, "He was coming for me.
Yeah,
I gotta pray for this dude.
I gotta go get him."
yeah.
Yeah, no, and that's just a testament to Ananias, like heeding to the Lord's call.
Yeah, that
Like,
you're 100% right.
He's there, and he's like, "I don't know, but I mean, if you say it, like, if you say so, Captain, like, we're going."
right.
And something else too, is that for people, or something that I was getting out of this, is that those people that you think, like, coming from maybe not a new Christian standpoint, and like the transition from Saul to Paul happens in everybody, but coming as maybe someone like me, Wyatt, and we're not. I'm not saying we're great Christians by any means, because I'm the worst sinner I know, but maybe there's more of a calling for me, or maybe it's just like putting it on my mind that, like, hey, go get that dude that you think does not have a chance of coming with you to
Isn't
church.
that something?
You'd be very surprised.
Like, you will be so surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that gamble, take the shot, and if you miss, just do it again. Do it again, do it again, and before you know it, or just somehow, you're gonna blink.
Yeah.
And that dude's going to be right next to you in
Yeah.
the pew at the Bible study.
Because what's the Gretzky thing? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take, or
That's
whatever,
right.
And you're so right. Like, this story really, at least this part of it, it's really more about the faith of Ananias than it is, because Paul's blind at this point. He's not eating, he's not drinking, he's probably going, what is happening, right? He's in a state of shock. His whole life is turned upside down. But here, this guy is like, whoa, you want me to do what? You want me to go pray for that guy?
Yeah.
You're right. Like, God, there's got to be no shot here. Like, he's like questioning, like, God, no, wait, are you sure? Like, this guy, right? I don't. Seems like a waste of time.
Line him up, edit that way.
Yeah. Send me anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
But no, so he goes. And so the faith of Ananias, right? That's massive. And he's a little known character in the scriptures, but his faith, he comes to Saul, to Paul, however, wherever he is in this moment, right? He comes to him in, his lowest of lows, right? There could be at no point, like, Saul just saw the light of Christ. Like, his eyes are now closed to the world, right? Because they were blinded by the light so much. So he's overwhelmed with the goodness of God set against his stark opposition to God. So there's no lower point, right? No, I mean, all of us have had these dark to light moments, but I don't know that we've actually heard a voice go, Wyatt, why are you persecuting me?
Yeah.
That's brutal, right? And that's what Saul heard. And he immediately falls down and said, Lord. I mean, he recognizes that whoever this voice is, it's got more authority than he does, right?
Yeah.
And so he's at a low point. And so you're 100% right, Mason. Like, who are the people that you think don't even want to sniff a Bible study? Don't even they're just so far. That might be the person that God is sending you to, and for that person to be God's chosen instrument to do something big. So wherever you might find yourself in this passage, in this collection of 19 verses or so here in chapter 9, understand that for each of us, I mean, wherever we are is exactly where God needs us to be right now.
Yeah.
Like right now in Monroe, Louisiana, on the campus of ULM, this is exactly where God needs us. It doesn't mean this is where we're going to stay. It doesn't mean that in 9 months from now our lives don't look totally different. But right now, this is where He's called us. And so if you're listening to this podcast, you're a ULM person, you're exactly where God needs you to be. So pay attention.
Yeah.
And be like Ananias and say, okay, Lord, this goes against 100% of all of my instincts. Like, this is not what I want to do. This is way out of my comfort zone. I don't feel good about this, but I trust you. And because he could trust God in that moment, then we get to sit here today.
Yeah.
And think about it like that. So that's the huge turning point in all this. Like, because a guy named Ananias was trusting God to go face probably his greatest fear. I mean, let's be honest. If you know your accuser, the guy who's, you were on the list of arrestees. He had a warrant with your name on it, and then he's going to go pray for that guy. So as we close this up, like what I would say to the listening audience is, who are you praying for this week? Who's your Saul that you're praying for? Who's the person that you need to go to, even though you think it's a waste of time, even though you think it could actually damage you maybe. It could hurt your pride. It could knock you down a level, whatever. It could be a failure. It might not work out the way you want it to. Who's the person that you need to go to? Because I promise you there's somebody.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Final thoughts before you go get an education?
Not many. I mean, other than just take that shot, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of got maybe one while you were talking about that, like, and we're kind of going to talk about this on not the next episode, but the next.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of setting this thing up. We kind of cast some vision, but in both of these men's lives, they do exactly what Jesus tells them, what the Lord tells them to do.
That's good. That's a good catch. Yeah.
And that's John 2, where Jesus is at the wedding in Cana. Is it Cana?
Yeah.
And they run out of wine, and he turns water into wine, and Mary, his mother, tells I guess the disciples or people that were right there, the servants, she says, do whatever he tells you to do.
Yeah.
As in, do whatever Jesus tells you to do.
Yeah.
And these two men are prime examples of exactly what Jesus told them to do, and they execute it perfectly.
Yeah.
And so I just would take that, like, that's just a reminder to me of, like, man, what is Jesus telling you to do? Is he telling you to go and pray for somebody that you think is so far beyond the water that, like, they're just, like, not even worth your time?
Yeah.
Because you would be very surprised at what Jesus can do in somebody's life.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just see it in my own life. Like, Lord, why are you using somebody like me, who's just terrible, for your holy and righteous kingdom? And you would just be so surprised. So that's a little vision for that. Just John 2 of, like, man, do whatever he tells you to do.
Yeah.
And you are not too far gone to be used by Jesus and for him to say what he wants you to do.
Yeah.
And so just let that be a reminder.
That's a great catch, because that is where we're kind of going the rest of the rest of the semester for sure on these some of these episodes is do whatever Jesus tells you to do. Wow, that's good. Yeah, because that's both those guys.
Both of those guys, man.
100%. Good catch. Good catch. So that was a good 90.
That was a very, very good 90.
Awesome 90.
All right. Adios.
See y'all later.
See you, sinners.